So.
Yes, I took mine.
Thanks, Mary. What?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I see there are still some people in the back hesitating whether they should join or not our panel. Maybe just a few words before we start. This panel will be on technology for social good, and we will be exploring how startups are creating impact today and how they can catalyze even more impact, and what is the role of other stakeholders in the ecosystem. If you have some friends who are out there not sure whether they should keep on having their lunch or join an interesting discussion, you should definitely message them and tell to join the plenary session. By the way, we are part of the Global Shapers community. We already presented that at the very beginning. We are here for Hack for a Cause, which is a 1.5-day long line of sessions, inspirational talks, panel discussion, and also co-creation sessions. So just be mindful that we'll be here in the plenary still this afternoon and also tomorrow. So feel free to pop by and be with us to get even more inspired at this great event today. All right. We are already there, so I'm not sure whether we should have the music to start off the panel or whether we should just go straight into that. I'll probably do that because that would be awkward. But yeah, hello everyone. As you might have understood, I'm the moderator, and I find it a bit strange to be sitting in the middle, but I've been told it could be actually nice to sit around all the speakers. I will then try to start maybe from the left-hand side and just introduce or get you the microphone to introduce yourself. And I would love all of you to just say a few words about you, and especially to tell us what is your connection or how you are related with the topic of technology for social good.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Yeah, there we go. My name is Laura. I'm from Germany. I have a background in physics, namely biophysics, and I am currently working as a quantitative consultant in financial risk advisory. That is also why I deal a lot with the topics of data, data quality, data storage, but also how to use machine learning in order to improve my predictions algorithms that I am creating during my day job. And then furthermore, I am in the leading position for various initiatives tackling digital inclusion projects for youth, but also for adults in the southern Germany region.
Hey everyone, an honor to be here. My name is Christopher Lee. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts in the US. My background is in healthcare. I hold a PhD in the joint Harvard-MIT Health Sciences and Technology program, specializing in biomedical engineering. I'm also a co-founder of a company called Infinite MD. We're a digital health company. We connect patients anywhere in the world to specialists online for remote virtual opinions. So we only deal with patients in specialty medicine. I've always been inspired in using healthcare to inspire social good, and one of the verticals that Infinite MD is currently pursuing is providing patients that would otherwise not have access to a specialist the ability to have a no-cost second opinion. And we've developed this programming in certain disease-specific areas and looking to expand it elsewhere. Excited to be here today and to talk about my experiences in this area in healthcare.
Thank you, Christopher. Hera.
Hi everyone. I'm Hera from the Philippines. I'm more of an ecosystem builder. I'm co-chair of Ocean Summit PH, which is actually a biennial gathering that brings together cross-sector leaders to talk about new ideas and encourage cross-sector collaboration. I've been in the corporate space for 9 years. Mainly, I've been in the space of philanthropy. So I used to had an initiative to rebuild areas that got hit by the Super Typhoon Haiyan. Basically, that include interventions in health, livelihood, housing, and education. And a big part of that experience allowed me to really see the role of business in shaping the communities they're in. So right now, I recently became part of Antler in Singapore that allows me to learn more about how to revolutionize the way we allow entrepreneurs to scale. So basically, it's a lot of reinventing the way we use mobile phones to power a lot of like offline retail in the Philippines.
Jawad?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jawad Mushtaq. I am the son of an immigrant born and raised up in the core north in a country called Norway. I started in my career in an energy corporation. I dropped out last year. On the side, I've started a few social enterprises focusing on education, youth, on diversity and inclusion. And right now I'm working for an impact investment organization called Catapult, which is investing in impact tech-based startups. We have in the past 3 years through our Global Accelerator program invested in 50 startups from all over the world. And we are launching between 5 to 10 accelerator programs in Africa within this next year. I work a lot with systems change work and on developing innovation ecosystems in emerging markets. And I really believe that technology can be a key part of scaling up and solving a lot of the challenges that we're facing as humanity and the world. And what we can do is how can we work on bridging the early stage capital gap that we're facing in a lot of emerging markets to really solve some of the big challenges. And I'm really excited to be part of this panel and discuss some of those solutions today.
Thank you very much. So as you can see, we have a very diverse panel today. I'm super happy to start off this discussion. And the first question I would like to ask you is, since you all come from different countries, you have such diverse backgrounds, could you maybe make an example of a tech company that is really creating social impact today, maybe in your specific country or region, and give us a little bit of inspiration?
So the usage of digital technology to tackle complex processes, not processes, but complex issues in the society is a rather novel one. However, it's gaining a lot of momentum in the past decades. And there are actually two projects that I find really impressive and that I would like to highlight. The first one actually is a project that is based in Nigeria, and there is a bunch of girls who actually just received last year the Technology Award of the Silicon Valley for developing a fake drug detection app. I find this very, very interesting because first of all, it's a group of girls who did not have any prior knowledge in coding when they started off doing this project. And actually, they are tackling an issue which is really deep in the African market, that you have, or where access to fake drugs is a very big topic, and this app that they created actually allows to simply scan the barcode of a given drug and thereby identify whether or not it is safe to use it. And of course, this leads to the prevention of death and of other diseases which evolve from taking wrong medication. And then another one that I really, really do enjoy, and it has become a startup already, is that you can actually use your phone camera to support the visually impaired, turn the smartphone camera basically into a smart guide, it allows you to scan the room, and visually impaired people will have an easier time finding objects that they may have displaced. So actually, it's also an app that all of us could potentially use, I guess.
How is this app called?
It's Panda.
Panda, okay.
Panda, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I really liked her particular point around the idea of technology confluence. You know, I'm an engineer, and I feel like the takeaway at the end of the day when you go to study engineering is how to bring things together. So let's use the context of my company, which is a digital health company connecting patients. I didn't invent any of the individual components, or rather we didn't invent any of the individual components. We did not invent the concept of video conferencing. There are tools that we use for that. We didn't invent the concept of digitalizing CT scans and putting them online for physicians to access. That was already readily developed. We just found ways to bring all of these different aspects of existing technology together in a very meaningful way. And one thing that we found particularly interesting is, you know, we've been trying to do these social programs where we provide a patient that might not have access to an expert the ability to speak to someone that is a clinical expert relative to the condition that they have. And a lot of these patients are just coming to us organically. My business partners and I just the other day were discussing how we think maybe inadvertently Google searches have probably saved more lives than anything else in the world, because the first thing, if you don't feel well, what do? You go to Google and you Google some stuff, right? And I find myself doing that even though I've been in healthcare my entire life. And so when we've instituted these programs where we provide patients the ability to speak to these experts for free, we've actually needed very little outbound marketing. We needed actually very little SEO. We've found that most of this demand is coming to us very organically, and there are just a number of patients that are just directly coming to us. So I guess in summary, what I was trying to say is that, you know, the confluence of technologies, particularly ripe sort of in this time, and in some of my personal experience, I've been able to see that, you know, a lot of these sort of inadvertent ways of coming across, for example, our services are already there.
Great. Are you guys, can you also think of some examples?
Yeah, for a bit of inputs from the ASEAN market, which is actually a hotbed for social impact initiatives, just because we have a lot of social issues. And a lot of these things stem about a lot of frustration about things. And I have a couple of friends who use this frustration, channel this frustration to create things and bring more impact. A group of friends created a startup in India that stemmed out of that frustration with the fact that 25% of all cervical cancer deaths are from India. And though it's preventable, it happened because a lot of women, because of this general reluctance and embarrassment about asking about their sexual and wellness and well-being, and general well-being. And what they did basically is they created a chatbot. It's a startup that allows you to basically interact with a chatbot that would push really good, well-curated content about your condition that would allow you to personally interact with them anytime you want. They push very specific information. They connect you to non-judgy physicians through telehealth. And that allowed them to, and the goal is really to help empower women and by empowering their health. Another group I know, there's a group of friends, a bunch of travelers. There's a part of their trip where they went to Southeast Asia and experienced a lot of scam, and that got them really frustrated, and they created a crowdsourced incident reporting platform that also that allows travelers to be in the know about which areas are safe for you to travel, which areas would be much better for dining, and what would be the necessary mechanisms that you could follow if something happens. Another group I know realizes how it's kind of difficult for millennials to invest. So what they did was, what they did is a platform that's going to connect stockbrokers to millennials in a way that makes investing fun. So what they do is they create smaller circles that shows different investment opportunities by theme. So as a millennial, investing now becomes fun because you can invest based on, you could invest for climate, or you could invest for a world of bots, or you could invest for all these different types of initiatives. And you're not only just investing investing to reach your lifelong goals, but at the same time for, just for the general well-being of the planet. So those are some of the things those are some of the examples that I could think at this point.
Great.
So I think we just need to kind of understand that when we talk about technology and solutions, it doesn't necessarily have to come from startups itself. It can also come from established companies. And a few examples of that are, if you look at the South Asian market with Pakistan and Bangladesh combined, there are 350 million people. Now you have a huge amount of the population which are unbanked, and you have a huge amount of people who doesn't have a documentation to actually create a bank account. So when you looked at one of the largest telecom operators in the world, they started something called Easy Pesa, which was using mobile technology because they have a very high mobile penetration rate in those countries, 75% in Pakistan, and a similar rate in Bangladesh as well. They could provide an option, an alternative to a lot of younger people to actually get access to financial transactions and getting paid out. So you're kind of tackling an issue where you have a huge amount of the population which is unbanked and don't have documentation, but still can get access to financial transactions and financial inclusion. Another example that we've worked slightly with, which is based on kind of some of the similar examples of telemedicine, is based out of Pakistan. So you have a startup called Doctors, and the startup was looking into two problems in Pakistan. One was there's a lot of female who get educated, highly educated. A lot of them are educated as doctors, but tend to be at home after they're educated because they want to prioritize family, etc. And on the other hand side, you have a lot of rural areas which don't have access to medical advice or doctors at all. So now how can you use technology and telemedicine as a platform to combine these people who can sit at home, who are highly educated women, doctors in Pakistan, to connect them with rural areas? It's another way of looking at technology. At the same time as we can't just look at technology as a solution to the developing and emerging markets. Technology can also be very good at the developed markets. And if you look into Norway, which is where I'm born and raised, you see that there's a huge problem with an aging population and a lot of loneliness and a mental health crisis. And then you have another group which has had a huge influx into the region, which is the refugees, which started coming a few years back, who are also sitting at the refugee asylum places, not having any work, and also suffering a lot of integration issues and mental health problems. Now, there was a solution which created a technological platform which connected these older people who needed somebody to talk to and have kind of a friend on one side, and you had refugees who need to learn the language and also were feeling lonely, and connected those two through this platform. And suddenly you're solving a mental health and loneliness issue, which is a huge problem in an aging society. So in a lot of senses, technology can be used as a catalyst to solve a lot of the challenges we have, but we also have to be a bit humble and understanding about that technology doesn't always have to be the solution. It can be really good to solving the problems and scaling up, but in some regions, technology is not the first answer. It can be the second or third kind of stage.
Javed, since you mentioned, you made some examples both from like emerging economies and developed countries. What do you guys think would be the main differences when it comes to tech startups? What are the characteristics of tech startups in developed countries and in emerging markets?
So from my perspective, we're based out of Norway and we're investing in global impact tech startups. And we've mainly invested from the Western world because they tend to have good, mature ecosystems and at least a fundamental understanding of how to commercialize and scale up the startups. When you go into a continent like Africa, where you have 54 countries, and a lot of them are on a very different understanding in terms of commercializing a startup and scaling it up, you need to start on a very kind of different angle. You can't start by saying that use technology and create commercial startups. You need to start by creating education and awareness around entrepreneurship, around commercialization, around how to scale it up. And then you need to kind of help support a lot of the early stage capital gap that we're facing as well. And thirdly, which we faced a lot in our work in Africa was, especially in Nigeria, was technology is not always the solution. We come in with this mindset that technology is going to solve anything, and then we start talking to a lot of the entrepreneurs which are on the ground, and they start saying that, yes, but our basic problems are not necessarily, creating a digital platform. It's to get basic sanitation facilities. And that's not very technological in any sense at all, but that's necessary. But we can look at how technology can help scale up those solutions. So I think we just need to be a bit kind of humble about when we go into this emerging market that technology is not necessarily the answer.
Right. Hera, what
Yeah,
is your take?
Yes, from the side of the Philippines, basically a lot of and the rest of, I think it applies to a lot of like countries in Southeast Asia as well. A lot of the efforts in building tech companies are really hinged on the need to transition to more digital infrastructure. But like Javad said, and I love what he said about technology not being the answer, it's because a lot of us will always think, and when we think of a tech startup, we always think it has to be something amazing, it has to be something intimidating, it has to be like AI, like it's like all these things, data science. But at the end of the day, we always have to go back to the ground and understand what are the problems that we truly need. I mean, there's a lot of this focus, like there's a bit of pressure as well to meld into the existing model of what a tech startup is. So a lot of people make the mistake of bringing in clones of certain startups with the purpose of just really like making it work in that country. But at the end of the day, yes, some of them may achieve product market fit given a few tweaks. But at the end of the day, a lot of mistakes that entrepreneurs make is they focus on the solution and not the problem when they are supposed to focus in the problem, because the solution could always change, but the problem is a constant. And I'll give you a very concrete example, like 3 themes in one example. So it involves the retail market, this is in the Philippine setting, the retail market, jobs, and e-payments, for example, e-payments. The Philippine retail market is a $95 billion industry. Out of that number, only 1.5 billion is attributable to e-commerce, and that's because in a country like the Philippines, where only 99% of the people don't have credit cards and 70% are unbanked, people, like a lot of the trade and a lot of retail is still largely driven by word of mouth. And in fact, 9 out of 10 people would prefer to listen to friends' recommendations than the ads they see online. And that is something that is a question. Like, you know, in a world where e-commerce is booming and, you know, a lot of like offline sales are growing as well, there are 50 million people in the Philippines that are still looking for opportunities to earn extra money for their family. And what we realized was there's a gap in the market that can actually bring all of these 2 different trends so that we could maximize the model. Like what we see as a potential is direct selling, for example. It's something big. Like Filipinos have the potential to be sticky. We, you know, human relationship has this potential to really just push products to the market. And that a lot of people try to disrupt this model by creating e-payments, e-wallets. A lot of people try to bring new fintech solutions. But what a lot of people didn't notice was in a country like the Philippines, cash is still king. So it wasn't until you know, cash on delivery services was introduced that e-commerce picked up. And I think for me, this is one example with how really understanding what the problem is really is key to really understanding how to drive the market forward.
Amazing. You guys have been also talking about ecosystems, especially Javad, and what came to my mind is, okay, like looking at this ecosystem and the players who are in it, so obviously like corporates and the government, and what is their role in making this whole tech startup ecosystem emerge and flourish. So my question to you is, what do you guys think of these players, and how do you think they should interact or not interact with tech startups to really help the whole ecosystem grow? I'll maybe start on this side.
So they most definitely should interact. I mean, in the corporate world is actually where all the money lies, where all experience lies. Startups can really benefit from the exchange and experiences that big corporates already have. Of course, they also have to apply it to their own field of interest and size it down, but I'm sure that startups, yes, they can learn from corporates, and there should most definitely be exchange on many different levels.
Yeah, you know, it's It's definitely a very, very tough question, I think, to address in such a short time frame. It's multifaceted, right? So on the founder side, you know, I would love, my dream is to have maybe a corporation pick us up and then have an exit, and that's, you know, something that is widely cited as, you know, a success story in terms of exiting a company, right? And so there are merits in that sense. But in terms of the learnings and the expertise, I think possibly that's probably the most useful. I mean, as a small company trying to fight for relevancy every single day in the marketplace, you know, a large corporation has so much more actual real-world experience doing something. In the prior panel, when we were or in the prior session, we were talking about sustainability, and sort of out of curiosity, I decided to see if I could look at my own carbon footprint from using Amazon Prime, right? Because I'm like a big fan of Amazon Prime, and I think two-day shipping is wonderful. But then I realized that Amazon is you know, as an article was saying, that they're only releasing their sustainability report on the effects of the carbon footprint in terms of Amazon Prime delivery this year. And so then my next thought was, well, if I was a company running some sort of a business that required shipping, wouldn't I look to them as a way of, in terms of modeling how I would develop out this business? I shouldn't have to reinvent all of this from scratch. Similarly, in the healthcare business, in the healthcare sector that I operate in, I didn't invent, you know, EMR systems from scratch, because if I did, every single hospital would have to readopt a whole new thing, and would actually be very, very difficult to sell them my solution. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, there has to be this, you know, obviously this partnership that has to occur. But really, I turn to corporations as a very collaborative partner, because there's so much that we can learn from them, which ultimately helps small startups become successful.
And just a follow-up on this, talking about legislation, because we also had a conversation about that. How do you think, like, the law could help you?
I mean, I have so many thoughts on the legislative components too. I mean, I feel like legislation is always very reactive, and you see this, you know, across the technology sector. You see this across healthcare. Usually, something bad happens, then it takes time to enact legislation, and by the time, in the years that it takes for the legislation to happen, the technology has moved on, and so now you have outdated laws governing technology that has moved forward. You know, in the EU, for example, there's these laws regarding data privacy called GDPR that have made telemedicine and digital health particularly challenging. And as an American in the United States, we're kind of this weird conglomeration of 50 states that are all fit into one giant nation. So you ultimately have sort of local state law, and then you have federal law that often come into conflict with each other. So there are a lot of sort of legislative barriers that you also have to overcome in the digital health space, but also in the sort of technological space that have become very annoying. But as a company, if you figure it out, it does help you ultimately achieve better product market fit.
All right. Thanks a lot. Guys, how about you from an ecosystem perspective? What do you think should be the role of these players?
So I think the point you raised up with corporations being part of the ecosystem is key. I think we need to kind of look at an ecosystem from a multi-stakeholder perspective, where we have a lot of players which have stake in the ecosystem and is helping developing that with different roles, which means that the government play a key role in their sense with legislation, etc. You have corporations which don't necessarily always have the innovation component in-house, and they need to go out to get new ideas through open innovation. They also have the financial backing through corporate venture arms. So I think we just need to understand that the innovation and startup ecosystem is not necessarily limited just to investors and entrepreneurs who are creating the solutions. Now, there needs to be a good way to kind of connecting and combining. And we need to understand what a corporation can bring in. And I think a lot of corporations have started to understand kind of the role they can play by not necessarily creating a lot of startups or investing in startups, but working very closely with the startup ecosystem. So in Norway, the largest bank has started an in-house accelerator program inviting a lot of fintech startups called DNB Next, We have a lot of consulting houses which have started to kind of have the digital and the innovation arm. We ourselves are collaborating with McKinsey as part of our accelerator program as well. So I think that we're going to find new types of models where we're working together with corporations, with consulting companies, with the government to actually create good solutions. And I think that's key to create systems change in the society and to create good world-class startup ecosystems. We all have a role to play, including the corporations.
I think generally entrepreneurs are very passionate people. They're always hungry to build something that's going to help and move forward their own advocacies and the things that they're passionate about. For me, the role of businesses is really in helping give them an extra push. It's the businesses that have access to data. It's the businesses that have access to capital. It's the businesses that knows a lot of the problems that are inherent to society in a much deeper way. And I think businesses would be able to help entrepreneurs do that by pointing. It's easy to be derailed if you're an entrepreneur. It's easy, like, I'm so passionate about this. I want to do this. I want to do this. But businesses could have that expertise and have that experience to come in the room and say, no, this is what's needed, this is the data, this is a problem they're experiencing. If you could come in and create a solution for this, then we're on to something.
Yeah. Right. And also talking about data and all that comes with technology, and probably what comes with it might not necessarily be always positive, right? So what do you think about also AI today and how we are also gathering data, and what are potentially some unintended consequences of these technology companies? Laura?
So AI in general, and that is something that I really want to point out, is not like the secret we've been waiting for so long. AI has been there for decades, and now it just has been given a new name, basically. So there is a saying, we have it when we code. It's like, if it's actually written in code, it's called machine learning. If it's on a PowerPoint slide, it's probably AI. That tells you something already, but in general, of course, using machine learning in different areas can enable us to predict different kinds of events, ranging from the likelihood of a person dying of a disease up to like whether or not there's going to be an environmental catastrophe. But in order to do that, we first of all need the data, which has been stated multiple times, and the data has to be of a certain quality. So, and as long as we do not have measures and know what the parameters are, we of course cannot model that event that we would like to predict. However, AI can of course be very, very useful, as stated before. I know that also, I think it's in Africa, they have an AI-based scanner which actually allows farmers to scan the condition of their plants and thereby identify whether or not the crop has been infected with a disease. And this allows them to react much faster and thereby prevent starvation and hunger. But as already stated, there is this data, and if we want to live in more comfort, which technology is surely bringing to us, it's making life much more easier. It's much easier to be connected. Life is more comfortable. It's way more easier than it used to be to educate yourself about various topics. The price you always pay with that is data. Your personal data will be used in order to train the algorithms, to make them better, to make them more user-oriented. And that is something everyone has to be very aware of and has to also keep in mind when using such products. And so far, there is a lack from a governmental side in order to cope with these new technologies. I think it was already pointed out. For example, if there's an incident think about self-driving cars. If we have self-driving cars, who's going to be responsible if something happens? Who is going to be responsible in that intermediate phase where not everything is smart, but we still have people who spontaneously decide whether or not to break, or so there will be different stakeholders, and at one point we will have to, or it is part and the responsibility of the government to create laws for the responsible usage of data, and also eliminate these gray zones in terms of the different innovations.
For sure. Chris, did you happen to come across any unintended consequences of your tech startup?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the fundamental premise of technology, is that when you develop something new, you kind of travel into uncharted territories, and by doing so, create new questions, right? I mean, we are challenged a lot because we sit on, information regarding people's conditions, whether that's something we can use to help train decision support algorithms, if it's something that we can use to create better guidelines for care. But that's something that in healthcare, I think we've seen for a very, very long time. Like a lot of the applications of smart software, we've been detecting cardiac arrhythmias for EKGs for decades. That's something that technology has delivered many, many years ago. I think it's just with different types of new technologies, these new discussions are being sparked. On the, my background is in biotech. On the biotech side, there are big discussions in the ethics of genetic editing right now. And these are all areas that, of course, I don't have the answer for any of this, but because we are traveling into very uncharted territories, the technology itself is inspiring conversations around these topics.
I think technology has tremendous power to affect us, but at the same time, a lot of these things are built by well-intentioned innovators, but like any other thing, like technology is also not immune to corruption. And I think what's very important right now is for us to see how we can shape it, how we can hone our biases or heal our biases to be able to build technology that's going to forward better agendas in the world. And I think right now, a very grounded example of that is just all this rampant misinformation online. It's just causing a lot of problems, and even like discriminatory and biased algorithms that's affecting us day in and day out. And I hope there's going to be more conversation around it, because it's something that has to be constantly part of the process and part of the journey.
So I think technology is really, really good, and it's solving a lot of problems. But sometimes I feel like we're running a bit too fast and really kind of with a very narrow sight to really understand the consequences of technology. And some of them were raised here with, biases in data. You have the ethics aspect of it with cars. Or for instance, if you get a new prosthetic arm and somebody hacks into your arm and makes you shoot a person, who's liable for that, for instance? All these kind of, cases are very interesting to discuss. And sometimes we just need to stop and take a step back and really try to understand the consequences. Now, I know that, for instance, legislation and new kind of frameworks like GDPR in Europe looks very challenging for a lot of startups at this point of time, but I think when you look at it from a long-term perspective, this is really going to help us understand who owns the data, what's kind of the wider aspect of it, what's the ethical aspect of it, because we don't truly understand the consequence and the negative sides which technology can also kind of bring on us. And I think we just need to be very aware of that. And I think a lot of governments have started to acknowledge that as well. And we see a lot of governments in Europe who have started to build their national AI strategies now to really build a framework around this and a legislation which can support issues like this as well. But technology is creating a lot of opportunities, but we just need to be a bit cautious that there are going to be challenges, and we need to be proactive to face those challenges and not reactive.
It's interesting that you all, in a way, brought up the question about ethics, and for me, it ultimately means, are we actually using technology to improve people's lives, right? So for me, it's ultimately about impact, and also our previous session was about the impact in linkage with the Sustainable Development Goals. I would like to know from you, can you think of any ways that technology could actually be used even better or should, lead to, an even larger overall social impact? What could be those triggers, what we are, maybe in a way still missing, that could really help pushing the boundaries in that direction?
I think it's like from my end and coming from my own lens, it's more how do we use all the outside, the ecosystem, and how do we use all the outside factors to push and to grow technology in a way that we want them to? Because right now technology, whether we like it or not, will grow and will constantly evolve. The question right now is how do we use existing systems? How do we use existing infrastructures, organizations, government, corporates to make sure that it goes to the right direction? So I think that's the bigger question to reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer of not reinventing the wheel, right? I mean, you see the emergence of all these on-demand applications, for example, and these applications are only successful because GPS technology has improved substantially over the last 10 to 15 years, right? And so there's always a timing with everything too. There are successful there are entrepreneurs that potentially would have had successful companies, but they came up with the idea a little too ahead of the curve, and because the other supporting infrastructure wasn't there, they ultimately didn't find the product market fit that they probably desired. And so I think the key really is to recognize what's available and what can be brought together in a way that creates value, rather than going out there and just blindly applying technology, just blindly using, blindly applying things that are available and sort of using these buzzwords or whatever to do something. There's so much that's readily available that can be put together in an effective way.
And also on the level of users, there needs to be much more education on technology. So, for example, kids will naturally grow up with technology nowadays, and they really have to be aware not only on how to use, for example, computers, how to handle them, which is also still missing in many of the school systems around the world, but also how to be responsible in the usage of them. And that's not only something that is out there for the startups and for the big corporations who are developing those tools, but there should also be an increased focus on how to well educate the end users.
Absolutely.
I think from my side, I think just want to echo kind of the fragmentation part, and that a lot of people are starting their own new solutions to everything. Look into kind of existing platforms, existing solutions to really create what is creating the most possible impact. How can you impact as many people as possible in a positive way, not just create another new solution. That's the first thing. I think the second thing, which was just mentioned now on the lifelong learning part and the role of the human person and in the whole technological aspect, is what role are we going to play? And too often we are very short-sighted in terms of that we say that we need to be technology savvy and ergo we need to learn how to code, but maybe in 5 or 10 years the machine can code themselves. So what's really the role that we're going to play? And really to understand the things that make humans unique in that sense, our complex problem-solving skills, our critical thinking, our creative thinking, and how we're going to function along with the machines to reduce inefficiencies, to create even better solutions, I think is going to be key, and that needs to be on the agenda as well.
Absolutely. I would like maybe now to see whether there is anyone from the audience who would have some additional questions from our panelists. Will be also interesting to hear your views on how technology can contribute to creating social impact, and yeah, maybe you have any direct questions to some of our panelists. I see one hand, 2 hands over there.
Hello, My name is Aisha, and I'm a medical student. I was very interested in what you were talking about regarding the ethics in healthcare and technology in healthcare. And I was wondering what your thoughts on technology eliminating some of the ethical issues that we face now. So for instance, you know, now in the media we hear about the 3D printed heart and how, you know, that's going to be the future as opposed to transplantation. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
I think that's for you, Chris.
Yeah, fascinating. So I think there's, I mean, if you look into, you know, so much of technology is what grabs people's attention, right? I think, you know, there, for example, if you look at 3D printing, I think it's an amazing piece of technology that's been invented, but I think sometimes its applications and its usefulness are sort of blown out of proportion, right? I mean, I think I see this a lot in headlines. Like, for example, a couple years ago, there was a big paper that came out about how a bunch of scientists found a way to derive pancreatic islet cells for in the pancreas from stem cells. And that was obviously a big deal. It was in a big name publication. But when news outlets grab a hold of that headline, they said that scientists had cured diabetes, which is a big gap between, in terms of, okay, we found a way to develop a novel research platform that we can do experimentation on, versus the actual complete 100% treatment of a particular disease. So I guess, long story short, what I'm trying to say is that I think a lot of sort of new and upcoming technologies might not necessarily ultimately make it, in the sense that we still have to follow the fundamentals of getting a medical innovation into people, which is the bench science, followed by the animal preclinical animal models, followed by the real life clinical trials. And so I think, although a lot of these technologies will ultimately come into prominence and into relevance, I do think some of them are more attention-grabbing headlines rather than actual sustainable treatments for diseases and conditions in the future. I don't know if that necessarily answers your question fully.
Yes, I suppose I was more interested in the ethical questions that we have and how those are the conversations around different treatments and modalities of treatments are changing as a result of technology. So. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, sure. I mean, I think, like, in terms of the ethics aspect, I mean, I'm by no means an expert, but a lot of it is surrounding the sort of the ways that humans are being involved into the studies, right? Because now a lot of these, you know, genetic editing things are testing, are going to be pervasive throughout the person's life. You're testing on an embryo, right? Whereas their conventional sort of clinical studies don't apply, where you can sign up a healthy volunteer, see if it's actually toxic or not. All this is kind of out the window. So I think a lot of these answers are going to be developed over time. I don't think necessarily I'm the most qualified to address the ethics aspects of it, but it is an interesting field to follow.
Okay, thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Hi, I have a question from Jawad. You mentioned about female doctors, overly qualified female doctors in countries like Pakistan, for example, and them not being able to go to rural areas, for example, or practice as how should they be, basically. So in that situation, how do you think technology can help solve that? Or what are the implications for that?
So there are actually quite a few solutions in Pakistan right now. One of them is called Doctors, another one is called Sehat Kahani. And the way they're doing that, because obviously there's a cultural aspect involved, a lot of women get highly educated, but then it's culturally you know, required for them to get married and get a stable life, which means that a lot of them are choosing away these careers which are in the medical sector. What Sehat Kahani and Doctors are doing is they're using this platform where you have telemedicine, you have video conferencing on one side, where they can sit at home and they can use their skill set to provide access to medical advising or you know, things that you can do through telemedicine for rural areas which don't have access to any doctors at all. So that's how they're solving this issue through technology.
Yeah, that's a really good solution, but for example, in rural areas, do you think they would have access to internet and the facilities required to actually use this platform?
So you're right that there will be areas where you don't have access to technology. But if you look to a country like Pakistan, which has almost 75 to 80% mobile penetration rate, so almost everybody has smartphone penetration rate, which means that almost everybody has a smartphone, and data is relatively cheap, which means that you can provide access to even those in the rural areas through those technologies. Yes, there are still areas which you don't have access. And we're looking into a solution on how we can kind of reach those as well.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are just right on time to take probably one additional question from the public. If there is anyone else who would like to probably express their thoughts. Oh, yes.
Hi. My question might be a little bit more basic or fundamental, but I would love to hear your views on this. What do you think would be successful strategies in terms of how to identify a problem and how to identify a solution for such problems? I know, very open-ended, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I have a very simple answer to that question, probably almost an existential one, but how I normally do it would be, I ask myself what irritates me most about the world. Because that will also give you, kind of point you to what you're very passionate about. And going back to that, to my answer to the previous question, focus on the problem, because the solution will change, but the problem remains the same. Asking myself what irritates me most about the world actually also points me, hey, okay, so if things are not, for example, like in the Philippines, in e-commerce, a lot of things are just purely manual. And that will already like give you a sign, hey, maybe there's actually a way to like bring technology to actually digitize some of the stuff that are just recurring stuff and non-value adding. So a seller could just focus on selling or doing the thing that she does best, which is selling. So I feel like that is also that is something that I always ask myself. Another thing that I do is use the word truly. That's actually my favorite word. So when I reflect on an issue or a problem, I ask myself, do I understand this? And I would know the answer that I get. And then the next thing I would do is I would ask myself, do I truly know this? Do I truly understand this? Just insert the word truly, and maybe it will give you a bit deeper perspective about it.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. I actually went to school. There's some programs for this in healthcare. They're called biodesign, and my panels have essentially hit this on the head, I think, several times today. It's essentially identifying a problem needs identification. Then you have to understand all the different stakeholders, all the users. Actually, if you look at the companies that we all respect today, they like Netflix didn't start out doing streaming, right? They hated late fees, so they solved the problem of late fees. They did that incredibly well. So they were focused and solving a problem that they had identified. They solved it incredibly well, and then that gave them the flexibility to then scale into the other businesses that we're in. I mean, same with Amazon, right? When Amazon started, they were trying to get rid of bookstores. I mean, everything else spawned out of that, but they were laser focused as sort of an e-commerce platform for books, right? And so, but ultimately they were trying to solve the problem that people didn't really want to go to a bookstore and all the other stuff. So I think, long story short again, it's the identification of a problem, really understanding the problem, iterating, ideating, and then iterating on all of it. It sounds trite, but it is a tried and true strategy because there are a number of companies that we all have come to respect today that followed that path.
So just to kind of follow very briefly up on that as well. So when you identify the problem, I think the solution should be either you can do it at a cheaper price than anybody else is doing, or you can do it at a better way. If you can do that in any of those senses, then you will have a potential market for you. So really kind of looking into both identifying and understanding the problem on one hand side, understanding data, understanding the stakeholders, understanding the systems, and then understanding how you can solve it better than everybody else, because that's going to be your leverage.
I'll just add something very quick, because
we're out of time.
Yeah, it's very important to know the problem. and there are a lot of problems. It's like, I just realized in a country like the Philippines, we have a lot of problems, but find a problem you're very passionate about. Because being an entrepreneur, it's actually a hell of a ride, and you need to be there in the ups and the downs. And if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's not gonna pan out well. So yeah.
And on these last words, guys, because I see our technicians already are coming forward, I'm just scared that they will kick us out from the panel. I really would like to thank you for all of your insights and your interventions. I would also like to invite the audience to, just come to us, ask also questions bilaterally. I think all of us will be happy to continue the conversation also outside of here. Thank you very much. Yes, let's take a picture. Like this? You stand? Okay. Where? Yeah, just.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kick it off. Yep.
no mas. Sunshine is shining far away. Bird's eyes is looking out, and they can see that you're mine. 'Cause when we together.
All right, so now that was perfect. The ending of the last session was the perfect bridge towards the new one, because now we're moving to becoming more interactive. Fine. So we're gonna work through a design dash. Now, I don't know whether many of you have been working with design dashes before. Who has? I see one arm up in the air. Oh, that's fantastic. So now the session will be interactive, and we'll be working with you through defining problems and then leading up to solutions. And to do that, I would like to welcome on stage Robin Wenninger, who is one of the specialists in this field and helps, especially in Germany, large international corporates to define problems and then leading that through.
Yeah, welcome. Beautiful to have you all here. So this is a purely interactive session. So we will just guide you through this session, and for that we need teams of either 2 or 4 people. So if you can team up, that would be beautiful. So move a little bit together. Who wants to work together? It doesn't matter who you are. We are solving the big problems of the SDG on industry, infrastructure, and innovation. So who wants to work with us on that?
So we have one.
One here. So we need a team partner for you. Who wants to move over there? So we just shuffle you all a little bit together.
Great, so just find yourself teams.
So who is another team leader? Over there. So we have a team over there. Make yourself comfortable wherever you want. We just want to understand where the teams are. You're joining one of those teams. You're joining the team here. You're joining a team there. Fantastic.
So you're here together in one team? That's one.
Fantastic. Yeah. Take the time to introduce yourself and get to know each other. How about you 2 in the back? You want to join? No, you don't want to join? How about you? Okay. So we have, can I get the remote, please?
So it's 1, 2. Over there, the gentleman.
You want to join? All right, so either this team or that team. You want to join as well? No? Okay, fantastic. Just choose a team. We do a 1-4 team and 1-5 team. That's fine. So design dashes are one of the things that I love to work most with to get started on ideas. It's the easiest way to come up in around 50 minutes with a prototype that might have the potential to change the world forever. And I've run now probably over 100 design dashes over the last years. It was originally designed by our friends at the HPI Institute in Berlin. And the simple idea behind it is to come from a problem perspective and find solutions for these things. And we will guide you through 5 steps, all timed on the screen, and you are going to work on that. And hopefully you come up with a prototype of your idea, which will be most likely on paper. If you want to build something out of the chairs, feel free to do so. Please don't destroy the hall here and don't destroy the stage, but you can use whatever you find to come up with your prototypes. And trust me, it will be a lot of fun. We just need 3 rules for the collaboration. So the first rule is if someone speaks, we don't interrupt. There's no but, there's only and, so don't interrupt ideas. And thirdly, you work as a team. And this all should probably lead for tomorrow. We might have the chance to pitch the best ideas on the stage in the end. So if you come up with something really good in the next 50 minutes, feel free to approach us afterwards to have the chance to present your idea here. So you have met your team peers? You all set already? Okay, so basically we just take you through the process, yeah? So you just have to follow the instructions step by step. So the first thing is, as I said...
Robin, just 1 second. I see you join later on. So what we're doing here is building up in groups, sitting together. So if you could join, this is 1 team, that's 2 perhaps. Patti, Laura, if you would like to group up.
Yeah.
With the lady in stripes, we could
Fantastic.
have. And there are 3 persons joining in as well. So please join us in the interactive sessions. If you would like to remain as a team in 3, that would be fantastic. So we would have then 4 teams which would be working then throughout our design dash.
Fantastic.
So you didn't miss out much yet. So you three will be forming one team. Then it seems you know each other already well, so that's going to be a vivid group
That's
work.
a cold surprise, yeah? Come in a room that is cold, and then you get a cold surprise as well. So, welcome.
So, Robin, you mind remind them of the 3 main rules for the session here, and then we can kick it off.
So, it's all about dialogue. Ideas are not getting interrupted, so we don't say but, we only say and. And it's all about getting together as a team, yeah? So you're creating something together. These are the simple rules for the session. So step number 1, you have 3 minutes for that. Our topic is SDG around innovation, infrastructure, and industry. So think about in your team, and everybody comes up with 3 ideas, problems, whatever comes to your mind around this SDG, and write them down. And in the end of the 3 minutes, you decide what is the biggest problem, the greatest opportunity you find in your first thoughts. So the 3 minutes are starting now. Write them down. Everybody's 3 ideas in the group.
Yes. No. Yes. Yes. Sure. Sure.
First minute is over. One minute left. "30 seconds, start choosing a topic that you want to work on in your team from your collection. What is the most promising thought that you have written down?" Three seconds. And over.
Time's up.
Time's up. Everybody has a topic in their group? Yeah? No? And you're the expert group. You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Topic. All right. Let's move on to the next step. And for the next step, you have 7 minutes. And everybody, please, or every group, please decide on one person that you're going to send to another group for an interview session. So just send one person over to this group sends someone over to this group, and you are going to send someone over to this group. Okay? Decide who you're going to send the other group. Who is going to go to the other groups? You're joining as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you get Damien. You get Damien for the interviews.
All right.
Yeah, you get the sharpest guy in the room here. So Damien, if you could join the group for the interviews, please. So send someone over, please. Yes, so Patricia's there. You're going there. All right. Okay. Someone has to go to this group as well. Yeah, you need an interview partner still. So, we need an interview partner for this group in the middle. Who's going to go there? All right, your interview partner is coming. So, for this interview partnering session, you are going to ask your interview partner around the topic that you have on your piece of paper. So ask all smart questions. What do they think about it? How do they relate to this topic? How do they feel about this topic? It's one topic that you have chosen before, and you just interview the person around this topic. So try to figure out what they think. So get the extra knowledge in the next 7 minutes, yeah? Get all the knowledge from your interview partner. Time is starting now, 7 minutes. Music starts as well. You're interviewing her, so on your topic of yours. 3 minutes left. One minute left. Five seconds. Interview time is over. The people that left their original group, please return to your original group. All right. All right, thank you, Damien, for helping out. Everybody back in their original group? Fantastic. So based on your interviews now, describe the problem or the hypothesis that you're looking into a little bit more. So the people that were interviewed, tell the people in your group what you have learned, what you have figured out, and then describe the person, right? So who have you talked with? What is their perspective on these topics? What do they express? And combined with your own thoughts, what do you think are the real problems, the real underlying causes, the symptoms that are causing the problem, yeah? So go into the depths. You have 7 minutes time to come up with a problem hypothesis, yeah? Clear? And go. Patricia, you have a question? Yes, show your original group. So 7 minutes, describe the problem as precise as possible. No. Hello? Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Last 2 minutes. Thirty seconds left. Time is over. I hope you're now a little bit clearer with the problems that we are facing and the problems that we are working on. If it seems still a little bit dusty and a little bit nebulous, that's fine, because that's part of a design dash. We don't want to go into depth yet, but we want to rapidly iterate over the topics. So, next step is a drawing class.
Drawing class with Robin.
Drawing class for problems and solutions. So based on your problems, try to visualize the problem with a rough solution, right? You can draw it, whatever comes to your mind. Try just to simply visualize it with pen and paper. And you have 5 minutes for that. It's not about an artistic masterpiece here. It's just about getting your thoughts on paper and visualize that. 5 minutes, draw the problem with a rough solution around it. 5 minutes. Go. We just need one per group. We can do a nice picture for the camera. 1.5 minutes left. "40 seconds left. Finalize your artwork." All right, time is over. Please finalize your drawings. I hope they all look a little bit like Picasso. At least we hope for that, because we will take them with us home. So you think this was creative and difficult? Now it's getting a little bit more difficult, because from a drawing we want to come up now with a first prototype. And you only have pens and papers and chairs. You can do whatever you want with these chairs. We want to see something creative here. So for that, you have 10 minutes time. Come up with a prototype for your problem solution. And I'm really excited to see what you're coming up. 10 minutes, use whatever you find in the room. Good luck.
So there's some plastic bottles here if you want to use that as well.
Take paper, tear it apart, fold it, shuffle it, staple things. Use what you have in your pockets. If you had an app, draw it.
Take something from the bar if you need, but come quickly back. Whatever you can find.
Whatever you can find. Be creative. And think about the story behind it. If you build something out of chairs, you can have a story behind that, right? First minute is over. You're done. I think you can use more chairs. Perfect. Looks fantastic. fürs Frühstück. Ja, besser aufstehen. Es hat so viele Möglichkeiten. Noch nicht, ich mache mit ihm für Union Investment jetzt einen zusammen.
Echt, ja?
Can you turn this off? Turn this off.
All right, 4 minutes left. 4 minutes.
1.5 minutes. You look really relaxed over there, so it seems like you have a good prototype.
The time is up. So now we're getting to the next stage where you again find the interview partners in the respective groups coming together, and then you have to explain your prototype to the interview partner you had before.
Yeah. So present.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Now present your prototypes, gather the feedback, figure out what they think is good and what they think is bad, figure out what questions they have, and gather some new ideas. Because right afterwards, we will improve the prototype. So, interview partners, go to your groups again.
All right, so just to make it easier, exactly the same interview partner. So I'm joining you guys again.
Exactly. So Patricia over there. For this next step, you have 7 minutes. And the 7 minutes start right now. Go. We don't have an interview partner for this group in the middle, right? You're missing an interview partner? There you are. Okay, perfect. I think this is also a prototype here in the middle, right? Is this your prototype, right? And you're alone now? Okay, so I come over to you as well and we see your prototype. Last minute. And the time is over. So we're coming to the last step of the design dash. You have another 7 minutes to improve your prototypes based on the feedback of this interview part. And afterwards, we are happy to have you present your prototypes. So another 7 minutes to improve on your prototypes. Sort your thoughts, bring them on paper, write them down, and improve the prototypes. 7 minutes from now on. Have fun. Okay, the fun is over. We're done. But you can continue the fun later today. But before we end the session, we want to see your prototypes. And that's why we're coming around. Do you want to start here right in the front presenting your prototype to us? For presentation, and can we get an audio signal on handheld microphone number 1, please? Who wants to present? You're going to present? Here you go. Here you go. So your prototype is on the screen. Handheld microphone 1, please. Audio signal. No, it should be switched on.
Okay, I got it.
It's on? Yeah.
Yes, it's on. Okay, awesome. So our topic was water scarcity. And the way that we were thinking of tackling it is we figured that the government doesn't actually have enough capacity to store that much water anyways. And through our interviews and group discussions, we decided to distribute that responsibility onto the crowd, right? So each house has its own storage facility. Not necessarily here, we're thinking about like how we want to plan it. So at the bottom, you'll see over here a container for the water, a filter to filter out gray water, so things that we do through our religious ablution, showers, so on and so forth. So the light kind of filtering that's actually needed. This is the gray water that's not great. And this is our house. And we were thinking, because of climate change, we're seeing a lot more rain here. It used to be a joke, which we used to say, you're called Bahrain and there's not enough rain. But as you can see, the puddles of water around, yes, exactly. There's puddles of water around everywhere. And what is it doing? It's evaporating on the streets. So we were thinking that we could actually collect that and store that for future use. Of course, we're still thinking about, obviously this has a very big infrastructure change of how we're going to go on about it. And maybe the group was discussing we could do something on the level of changing the behaviors and the way that they are actually consuming the water, maybe more efficient water usage on a level. And we also learned, very important, don't throw oil down the drain.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Really impressive for 50 minutes of prototyping. We have a new house. Thank you so much for presenting. And we're going to the next group.
So you're going to have the next pitch?
We have the next pitch with a palm tree. Who is going to do the palm tree pitch? Nora? Thank you.
Okay, so we came up with modular housing. And our idea is cool container houses. So basically you see our containers down there, but that's not where it ends. We're actually solving a lot of problems here because it's also a completely self-sustaining system that is using aquaponics. So you have a fountain here and there are fish living in that fountain, and then the excrements of the fish, they feed the palm trees, so like the urban garden that you have on the rooftop of the discarded container. And you also have solar panels on the other container to supply the house with energy. And of course, there's 5G connection. So basically, it's great for people who never want to leave the house because there's, as the people who gave us feedback said, there's food and Wi-Fi, why would I ever want to leave? So, yeah.
So you're
yeah, and it solves the homelessness crisis, of course.
Fantastic. So you're solving basically everything. So this is like the prototype of the future,
right,
and then, yeah, Damien, I think this side of the room was pretty impressive.
Yeah, could you head us over for the microphone to the third group? I think we're going to have just 3 pitches then. The fourth group had a distributed ledger for smart cities, which I was part of discussing, but I think they left already. So let's hear group number 3.
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, what our problem is regarding the trading in Bahrain, entrepreneurships. There is much people to get as a startup. They are ready to be as a startup dealers, but there is no proper training, there is no proper mentoring getting on. So what we given as 3 chairs over here, one is as a training institute, and one is job seekers, and one is like business owner. So business owner, what they want the right person to work for them. And the job seeker, what they need the right area where they have to fix to. But there is lack of information and technologies that we have to fix up to bring these groups all over together. So what we give the solution is like conducting the programs, training programs. It's all over in public. Because as much as we know, the people who want to be a startup, they are not going to some kind of institute or something like that for a long course like 6 months or 1 year or something like that, because they are very hardly trying to get breadwinning, okay? And grouping together, it should be under a roof that from the institute, they have to take all the responsibility to get the job owner until the job seekers. And the third thing is what we can provide them is online training support to both job owners and job seekers. Because they are, as much as here in local market, what they are in, they are already employed somewhere just as an employee, but they want to be a business startup. So online training, what they will help to get information until there should be a proper follow-up agenda that until the success. This is what we meant. Okay, thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you very much. How cool is that every of you 3 groups came up with something totally different, which you can actually plug together as well to work in a larger ecosystem? For me, that's super impressive. So I hope someone heard this from the Bahraini government so we can start implementing tomorrow. Very good. So let's start tomorrow.
No, fantastic. I hope you could feel how things are evolving when we do design dashes, because in the first probably 50 minutes, we could feel it from stage. Everybody was really confused. Everything feels really strange. This is like totally normal, but after 50 minutes, you came up with a prototype that visualizes really nicely problems and solutions, and that's the easiest way, and we didn't give you even some kind of resources. So just imagine what we all can do in 50 minutes if we have better infrastructure, better resources, and work together on the big topics. And Damien, I probably come back to your first sentence of the day. That's the tiny little stone that we can all move. So hope you enjoyed it. We do another design session in exactly 50 minutes and 18 seconds. So if you want to do another round, feel free to stay with us. Otherwise, tell all your friends or come back tomorrow at 9-ish sharp. Thank you so much. Take care.
Good afternoon. So for the last session today, we're going to do another design dash. So if you want to have some fun and come up with your own ideas, thank you very much for the microphone. So we're going to do a design dash now. There are a couple of you here in the room, and it would be great if you huddled into groups, because this is actually a session that is about collaboration. So if you, for instance, if you could join with a couple of people, if you're 4 or 5 per team, that's perfect. Yeah?
Yeah, so I see there is a group already forming over there.
So we have one group over here, then maybe you can join. So you can join each other.
No, they're leaving.
No,
okay,
don't
they
leave.
want to work. Would you like to join that group over there?
Perfect. So we have a second group over there.
Good.
Sir with the blue sweater on the left, would you like to join that group as well? No. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I hope our fellow shapers went outside together.
Yeah, I think there are more people coming. So we're just going to wait for a minute because I think there are more people coming.
Your microphone is unstable.
Yeah, okay, so that might...
You can also come closer, yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't have to interact necessarily with us. The interaction will be within the group, but it's also nice to have you closer. Thank you so much.
All right, so today's session is a design dash, and it's about SDG 11 and SDG 13. So it's about sustainable cities, and it's also about climate action, and you will be able to pick and choose like whatever topic you're interested in this realm, yeah, and come up with a cool idea. But yeah, we will get to that in a second, and we will take you by the hand through the process, and you're gonna have lots of fun, come up with funky ideas, and well, maybe your next startup idea at the end of this session.
Just a quick question. How many of you ever heard of a design dash, know what a design dash is?
Okay, one.
That's totally fine. You don't need to have any previous knowledge. Everything will be explained to you step by step, okay? Sounds great.
Shall we start?
Cool. Yeah, let's give it a start.
All right. So we're going to start with the first part of the design dash. There are also a couple of rules in general for you, so don't say but. There's only and, because you want to generate ideas. And also, please keep in mind that you don't interrupt each other, that you always let each other finish, because it's about brainstorming. So the first part is about meeting your peers. So you can use your phone, or you can use, there's a couple of pen and paper lying around, you can use that to just jot down 3 thoughts regarding sustainable cities and or climate action that you can come up with. Whether that's ideas or problems or things you've always thought about, doesn't matter. And it's really important now that you maybe get together a bit closer as a group so you can also actually talk to each other.
May I also make a suggestion? So I see there is a bigger group forming over here, and there are some new people who joined. It will be great if we can have rather groups of 4 people so that we can have even more brainstorming groups going on. So okay, I see here a group of 3. Maybe you would like to join this group here? Amazing, great.
And then you 5 ladies, you form one group?
Yeah, so it seems. Okay.
Yeah?
That sounds good.
So you, and then we have 4 groups in total?
Yeah,
yes?
because we
Perfect.
have one over there as well.
Would you like to join in the back as well?
Just join one of the groups. Or you can start just watching, and then you'll see whether it's something for you. Yeah? Cool.
All right. So just quickly again, jot down 3 thoughts or ideas or problems on paper by yourself that you think relate to sustainable cities and climate action. And once you've done that, discuss within the groups, like share it and decide which of these thoughts is the most interesting one. And you have to work fast here. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Probably we didn't explain what's the outcome of it, like what it is.
Don't forget, once you have written down the biggest issues you think relate to sustainable cities and climate action, that you discuss it within your group and you try to find maybe one issue that you all feel is really important on. There's like one issue which is the most important of all of them. So once you've written it down, please just talk to your peers and see what the others have written.
So you should start talking with each other now. So you have a group over here. You are part of that group, I think, the 4 of you. So you should start talking with each other and sharing ideas now.
I can also go and ask them if they're comfortable with that.
Oh, there's one more group.
Is it all clear? Huh? Is it all clear? Like you know what you're gonna do? Okay, super.
Oh, cool.
30 seconds left. Hurry up.
All right, you need to wrap it up now. All right, time's up. Have you come up with the most interesting thought? Right now it just has to be a thought. Yes? Okay, remember the idea here in the end is to come up with like a business idea and with a prototype. So we're gonna go to step 2 now. Interview a person. This means that from each group, one of you will go to another group, yeah? So one of you will go to this group, one of you will go to that group, one of you will go to that group, and then the other way around. And then the remaining group members will interview the new person on the thought that you have come up with. So you have come up with a thought, right? And then someone new comes in and you will ask them, you will explain your thought, and you will ask them about it. What do they think? Any question you want to ask. Okay?
It's going to be an interview for the person who's going to join your group.
All right, so
okay?
one of you has to join this group now. You are going over there. Perfect. Laura Emanuel, is one of you going to the other group?
And may I ask, so the 2 guys who just joined, why don't you merge just into this group so that we form
Perfect.
a bigger group? Okay.
And then Damien. Damien, one of your group members has to come over there.
Do you all have a new member in your group, a new person that you're going to interview now? Or is there anyone missing? That group, are you good? Is there a new person with you? Okay, so you just joined. You can still act as the interviewee. Yeah, just come over. Great.
All right. Oh, I forgot to start the clock.
So again, just to repeat this part of the exercise, you have to interview the new person who just joined the group, asking this person about the issue that you came up with, understanding, consider this person as being your user, your potential user, and try to learn as much as you can about the problem he's facing.
It is, especially because new people keep coming. It's great. It's cool.
Maybe there should be one person in the back just letting people in. So yeah, it's okay. Just it's okay. It's true.
If you're new to the room and you want to take part, just join one of the groups and just listen in and share your thoughts.
was Robin, but I wasn't.
It's like the other guy that looked like Robin this morning. It was crazy.
Oh, she's joining again. She was there for the other design dash. She was there for the other design dash. Just for the first one. That's so cute.
By the way, I met the founding curator of the hub in Zimbabwe. Because he was like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm with a organization called Global Shapes.
There's so many founding curator. But we should post it actually, because I'm sure there are so many shapers we don't even know about.
And they can take part and join us.
Oh, that's a huge group. You're taking pictures and everything. If you're new to the room, just join one of the teams and just listen in, because we're doing like an interactive session here. We're doing a design dash, so don't be afraid. Just join one of the teams and yeah, take part. We're doing a design dash here on the SDGs, on sustainable cities and climate action. So we're trying to come up with ideas for new business models. We promise it's fun. Are you tired? Are you tired? Because you're a bit like
A bit like, I have a lot of like personal emails to answer.
I want to change my assessor for my thesis. I want to change my assessor for my thesis.
Yeah, I have a lot going on with this hospitation period. And also with the like wedding prep and I don't even know. Yeah, of course I'm trying a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like there were some questions that popped up in the last 2 days, and it was hard because it's
like what? I didn't read all the messages.
So there was this point on whether we can use hub's money to pay the hub's money to pay for the ticket for the speaker. And also what Damin told me, which I agree with, like NBF is the project that allows us to raise money.
It should make us money, right? Yeah.
To then subsidize other projects. And I mean, for this one, we weren't able to, or like, didn't just work out. We didn't reach out to people to sponsorship and stuff. And I feel like we've been a little bit shy in asking for sponsorship.
Yeah, but the issue is also circular economy. It's more like, it's not that much a business topic, at least at the moment, yeah. But yeah, the thing is for me, I think we just suck with our timing because like I have so much going on. Celia's switching jobs. It's just like the worst timing ever. I'm really like right now, I'm just trying to keep things together. You know, I'm like falling apart. Like if I could, I would say like we cancel the whole event. Like honestly. Because I don't, like I'm every day working and afterwards I'm like doing all this stuff for 3 hours because you cannot, I mean you can reach this. Right, but with the new thing with the like, so we have a day job now in Bahrain, it's just been crazy and I'm realizing I'm getting more and more tired.
So you should be wrapping it up with your interviews. You have 1 minute left. I try to really start it off well. So I've been like in touch with the newbies and also participating in calls. And remember when we had the call for Hack for a Cause, it was like my 5th Shapers call that day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was freaking out. Like I was really, don't ask me to do anything more. And then, you know, also we are organizing this offsite and yes, Tarek is in charge, but at the same time, you know, find the venue and
what type of accommodation we go for. And there are parallel things and like small things, and Caroline coming up, oh my gosh, the website is not updated, we want to establish a partnership. Can you help us finding the presentations and stuff? And I just feel like every day I have so many different groups that require like a reaction on things.
Okay, your time is up. So the person who went to the group and was interviewed should go back to the group where he or she came from. And we are going to explain you the next step. So please just go back to your group. The time started already.
Yeah, it's fine.
What is now?
So you should now have the person that you send out as an envoy to the other group. That person should have now come back, and you can quickly update them. And then you should come up with a one-sentence description of your problem that you are discussing in your group. Like, what is it that you're working on? And you should also ask the person that was not previously in the group, what do they actually think about the problem? And you should also evaluate your interview that you were having. Does it make sense? Yes? Okay, try to come up with one sentence. So what do you think the person that you interviewed, what do you think they wanted to express? What do you think is like the main issue that you're working on?
Root cause. The root cause. Do you think they're working? Just started because I think otherwise we're running too late. Maybe, From who? Which guy? I'm just afraid that the yeah, it could be. Maybe not there, but the guy's back there. Yeah, it could be. Sometimes, like, I know when you see people around, like, you keep saying that you need to do less, and then you keep on taking on more and more and more. And it's really, it's going from close to burnout. It's called what? Close to burnout. It will lead that way. It's a slippery slope. Yeah, but at the same time, you know, like with the NBF, I said I wanted to do it, so now I have to go through with it. I can't now, you know, I can't just say no. Yeah, guys, do it by yourself.
Unless we call like an emergency. But yeah, this is also about like the two. What? Unless we call an emergency and we ask someone to take ownership of the project.
Yeah, I don't know what Sylvia's, for instance, going to do. I don't know when she's preparing for that.
It's also more important to work here. Because we can do it here and work with them. It wasn't working really for that. I have to prepare like the whole day today. It's great.
And then it's like priorities. We have to, this event came first, so I had to focus on it. Yeah, I think I just have to like cold call History. I worked on a reworked sponsoring package, and I think now we just have to send it out to emails. Like just send out 20 emails, even if it's to info@. The thing is, we have a bunch of confirmed speakers, like the event will fly. We might not have any catering, but we have the location, we have speakers. But the process is like, it's also, you know, some people keep saying, yeah, they will do it, and then it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't get a chance to do it, you know, so, and that's always the problem.
At the same time, this is a bit where I feel, yeah, perhaps was more, like it was important to have a bit more leadership.
because you and Sylvia are in charge, so you should be making sure that everything, like also I see at the execution of Laura. Laura is super good at executing shit, and she really keeps it together. So maybe she had also time to do it, or she's preparing the wedding, or she's not changing her job. There has to be like strong leadership in projects, and I felt it was more like also this fact like everyone is doing everything in a way, and like not so much accountability. It's good.
Yeah, I think for me really it's like it's not my top priority. Obviously not right now. It can't be. So it's a challenge. Like 3 months ago I didn't expect that. Yeah, no, it sucks, but it's more important to me that I'm doing now than I'm doing in MBF, you know?
Yeah, it's just that I don't have a solution. I understand what's best. There should be an emergency plan. Like in this case, there should be someone who can really take this shit together. Because I feel it's gonna happen because it's gonna happen, but it just there were like a number of things that just didn't work out quite well.
Like what?
Well, I feel we are still missing startups, right? Like, who are the startups who are coming to pitch? Or, like, I don't know, I felt it's, for example, we didn't create, this is my fault, we didn't create also the Facebook event yet, or like, we didn't start sending out invitations and things like this.
Okay, you have less than 1 minute left.
We should, let's focus on this. Then. But yeah, I know what you mean that, oh, we have an interesting group coming on. Should we tell them something? Should we tell them something? Yeah, go for it. No, I'm so shy.
All right. So now that you have come up with your problem and your hypothesis, it is now actually time to start prototyping. So what is your solution? So now it's time to get your pen and paper and to start drawing your solution, your idea, your business model, whatever it is. Draw it on pen and paper and try to visualize it. And it's important, don't draw the problem, but draw what you think is the solution to the problem. Draw your prototype. You have 5 minutes for this.
It doesn't have to be a work of art. It's really just about putting it on paper and visualizing it for all of us.
What I wanted to say is we're putting up slides. So we're trying in that main room where there's food and everything to put the 2 slides with the sessions that we're having. So it should be possible. I'll check with them if everything's all right. Do you need any help? Is everything going well? All right. Okay, cool.
So we have to call like our solution or
Your solution to the problem, yes. So, you know, you're inventing a new product or a service. Or what is your problem, or like what is the problem you're trying to solve?
Waste management.
Waste in general?
Yeah, waste management.
Try maybe to be a bit specific. Maybe if there is one specific type of waste you would like to, it could be like electronic waste.
more specific. I think the trash is like ourselves, what they do on trash.
Okay, home trash, industrial trash.
Try to go narrow, like something that you can then present as a business model. Okay. Whatever you say, they hear it. Are you guys drawing? Ooh, nice drawing.
It's a Japanese process.
Oh.
It's about waste management.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and,
So you guys have similar ideas. Good. Have 2 minutes left. How's it going? You're the artist? All right.
Seems like that.
2 minutes, guys. All right, less than 1 more minute until we go to the final stage. All right, so now we're entering the final stage. Now that you have your idea on paper, we actually want you to bring your prototype to life. What does that mean? Use anything you have here in the room and try to build your prototype. You can use pen and paper, you can use the coffee cups, you can use the chairs, or yourselves, whatever you find in your pockets, and try to build your prototype. Okay? Just don't dismantle the cameras. I'm afraid that might be a problem for the guys. But use whatever you have around you to really show us what your solution looks like. There are no limits. Be creative.
It's not the final one because the final one is the feedback. So how does it work with the feedback? Because I went for coffee. Yeah. Just one person from a group goes to the other group and gives feedback. Ah, yeah. Okay. That's it.
this is actually the oil, which is just not going into, like we're just collecting it. That's really cool. It's nice to see. What type of feedback did they give on our house?
They liked it. They just said that we needed to have energy source, so then we approved it to add the solar panels. So we came up with a whole aquaponic system in the end. Just because our Egyptian friend, he made a palm tree and a fountain, so we had fish in the fountain
and a frog.
Yeah, exactly. Sure, you had the frog. Just tell them that they can join.
Sir, the person who just came in the room, hello? Hi there. You can just join one of the groups and just listen in if you would like to know what we are doing. Yeah, crops. Let's make it real. So they will probably do that. Yeah, you have to find ways of doing some marketing.
I just hope that I'm not alone here tomorrow morning at 9.
I will be there. Excellent idea, he brought an apple. Just kick him with an apple. Sure. No, 4. There are 4 like 1, 2,
Watch the sunset before we go to the bed. Like that.
Why not? Or we go to the hotel. Where's the dinner?
I would love to go to the dinner is on the whole street.
Okay.
They have blocked the whole area for us, so we can come also a little bit later. I would say like, so at least I want to do that because it's also the cultural heritage of the Bahrain. Going before, just walking a little bit there, watching the sunset, and then the hotel.
I like the idea of being on the side. I mean, I love the idea of the pool, but I think I can do it tomorrow. Also, I don't have to do all the passport shit. Oh, I like that. You'll have to explain me later. Is it done like this? Like so simple? Good. Okay. But you know, use also paper to build up stuff, and you can ask for tape over there. It's-
If you don't leave it there, but then you take it further.
Where is your prototype? Oh, there's some serious art stuff going on. All right, I see.
I'm just doing networking and giving
Yeah, but you shouldn't distract them. You know, they're here to work. They're here to create solutions for climate change. It's like,
let's do this.
You know, priorities, man. Joking.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. So this represents a person? Yeah, right? There's the car, right? This is a car. Very interesting. And that? Is it part of the project? Oh, that's the whole process. I see. Okay, cool. You need a lot of imagination. No, I'm really impressed. I'm honestly really impressed.
Yeah.
Where's your prototype?
Because you don't have to do the work.
An apple and a flower? All right. I really need to hear that one.
Yeah, it's cool. And people are happy because if they're tired of listening, they can actually do stuff themselves. And you engage with the topics, and they get to know each other as networking, targeted networking. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like it. Maybe we should just do a design
We dig deeper into it.
I'm so happy that we managed to have good-looking slides all over the presentation.
Yeah.
Robin, you did a great job.
I didn't do so much, I just changed the font, right?
What makes a difference?
Yeah, but I think that this black and white design just looks so amazing in this room because there's black walls and stuff like that. It literally looks like the font is just in the air.
And simplicity works. Simplicity is usually better than if you because also otherwise people don't look at the people on stage anymore and they just try to decipher the slides.
I hope you're almost done with your prototypes. You have 1 minute left.
I'm pretty sure that we'll just listen to after movie.
Yeah, could be.
Any kind, so probably at least 1 or 2 prototypes that we will do.
You think so?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that we'll
The palm tree, yeah. Do you want to say the next step?
I can do it, yeah, sure.
Shall we stand up?
Yeah. Otherwise it's like not standing. Yeah, it's okay. You look a bit like a beggar, but... It's a beggar, like...
All right.
Time's up for your prototype. Now we will move to the next step. Do you remember that there was one person from your group who had to go to the other group and was asked a question about the problem that you were addressing? So that person now has to go back to the group that interviewed him or her and look at the prototype. So you have to explain to this person what is the prototype, like what is your solution to the problem, and then also get feedback. Because don't forget that the interviewee was ultimately your user. So he or she needs to, tell you whether she likes it or not, what could be improved, maybe there are some things which still remain unsolved. So please, the person who migrated from the group, to go back to that group and see what they have done to solve your issue. And you have, again, 7 minutes for that. Okay. The group in the back, is there anyone who's moving to check the prototype of our group here in the corner? Yeah, I think that was the young boy. Hi there. Would you like to join a group just to see what they're doing? Yeah, you can listen in. For the what? Okay. Oh, okay. Probably it's with some other people, but if you want, you can just listen in because we're doing some co-creation stuff. So just sit there and yeah.
Look at this pitch. I don't know. So we haven't told them for tomorrow if they should come here tomorrow.
And Tamkeen didn't solve it? Tamkeen didn't solve it?
I don't know, but like, because Robin and Damian in their session said, oh, you might even get the chance to pitch your project tomorrow. And we didn't give them any details. So I think we don't need to know that they need to come back. Maybe we can ask Robin. What? You have 6 months.
So where's the feedback then? How do we finish it?
They can each quickly pitch their project to everyone.
So once we finish, the person goes back?
Yeah, then everyone can quickly to the entire group say what they've done. That's what we did last time at least.
So the groups to all the others?
Yes. Vorhin in der Session gesagt, dass man
restaurants or industry?
Have a system for housing, have a system for restaurant or for big companies.
Yeah.
So logistics is, I guess, very
In which sense? In which way? In which way? this is not on household level. This must be at least neighborhood level, right? What about general awareness? Like, is it a thing here in Bahrain to really segregate waste, especially organic waste? How are you planning to tackle that? So there is an important component to it, which is really awareness raising and really getting people to throw this organic waste in a proper way and also just do it, right?
All right, you slowly need to wrap up.
Okay, I think we're good to go. But yeah, thanks a lot for explaining that to me. Thanks.
I'm Nora.
Alan. Is there an Alan in the group?
So before we wrap up,
Who's
you
Anna?
now get a last chance, based on the interviews that you just conducted, to improve your prototype. And we will shorten that bit a little bit because we don't have that much time left. And we will then also get the quick chance that one of each group presents to the audience what you have actually come up with, okay? So that we all know what you've worked on.
Should we do like 3 minutes to improve the prototype and then we present briefly? Okay.
It's quite a long process. It's quite a long process, isn't it? This is quite a long process.
They are doing things, like they're talking among each other, so it seems like they're thinking. And like people thinking.
All right, guys, please wrap it up. And I'm now going to come downstairs so that each group gets a quick 30 seconds pitch to explain what you've actually worked on. That would be amazing. Do you guys want to start? You? Just to explain what your idea is so the others, so you can share it with the others. Ah, you'll be fine. Is it not on? Just speak loud.
So we have the emission of CO2. There's the problem is in the cars. So the solution for the cars is limiting their timing and using hybrid cars or hydrogen. So here we demonstrated the timing to limit the timing, like from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then only the cars.
Okay.
This is the sun, the moon, and this is the sun rising. And the other one, she will explain.
My problem was growing lack of greenery and high emission levels. So the solution was to grow greenery and trees everywhere. It could be in the form of ivy on the side of buildings or lush gardens on the roofs of buildings. Electric cars are also not as eco-friendly as they appear because generating electricity produces like a lot of smoke in the factories. And for this reason, we could start using cars that run on water or hydrogen. It's much more eco-friendly and you can even drink the water that comes out of it. Thank you.
All right, we have a couple more groups.
So our group here, we want to solve the problem of food waste. So globally, every single year, 1.3 billion tons of food have been thrown away. So it's a huge amount, and I think the same problem here in Bahrain as well. So we have a solution for that. The technology is not new, so it's basically food waste thrown into this prototype here. And then through combustion, it will become a gas as fuel. And then the remaining charred items will be used as fertilizers for the soil. But what's the innovation to this is the packaging of it. Because at the moment now, it's all look very industrialized, not really kid-friendly. So we're going to make it really kid-friendly. We're going to explore doing it in the neighborhood in Bahrain with 300 households that we're targeting. And making it look cute, such that rather than a machine they're throwing food into, it becomes like maybe a pet cat or something like that, and make it look cute, such that even the whole household, even the kids themselves, are also involved in upcycling these food items. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your idea. That's great. We have 2 more groups, I believe. Do you also want to quickly share your idea? You're going to do it?
Okay, so we're having a waste management cycle here. And it's a traditional one, but we had some feedback here for improvements. So we implemented some sensors and data analysis software to measure our efforts and improve on the process, and maybe make decisions on where to fix things if they're not working properly. So it's a good final collaborative effort.
Your new startup idea, basically.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now, last but not least.
Okay, last but not the least, probably not very, you can say, money generating and all, but we have kept it very simple, wherein we can cut the cost as well. So the idea is flowers. There are a lot of flowers being used at events and a lot of other functions. So general life of a flower is 7 days, okay? When we do an event, we just use them for 1 day, and rest after we don't use them. So idea is, you have used it for 1 day, give it to us. We put that into one of the retail outlet or online, and we sell it. When we sell it, from that money, we do charity, okay? If the customer has bought it, it's good enough. If he has not bought it, we'll actually put this into ground and make more fertilizer and do the agriculture again. We put these flowers, those who are generated from there, back into the market. And I'm pretty sure you would like to add something more? That's about it.
Sure.
So you can just like chill now.
And one more thing, when a new customer buys something from our outlet, they might want to add something like deposit some sort of flowers that they got or from their friends. So they can, as we see here, this arrow is both-sided. They might throw some flowers into a box that we may reuse and then supply to future customers that may be interested. They might help us with our efforts.
So you're really creating the circular economy there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. This was really fun. Thank you so much. Guys, we will be having more sessions tomorrow, starting from 9 a.m., where we will be here to give you an impulse session
session. So again, it will be a mix of panels. There will be one more design dash as well if you found this fun, and please join us. Anything else?
Yeah, I think you said everything that was left to say. Just a reminder, we are the Global Shapers, and we are here to really get you guys to work. We don't want these passive interactions when there's just a panel sitting there showering you with information. We really want you to get something out of these sessions. So please join us tomorrow. We are here the whole day, and we'll be glad to see you again. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Try so hard to get away. Think about you every day. Try so hard to live without, but no mas. Sunshine is shining far away. Bird's eyes is looking out, and they can see that you're mine. Cause when we're together, you're like plunging inside of that fire I cannot contain. Our love is like a heat wave. It's burning through the evening rain. Set sail on an ocean wave. Cause our love is like a heat wave. Cause our love is like a heat wave. Never will walk away unless you're right by my side. Burn gas in a Chevrolet, she's so hot. And our connection's like Wi-Fi. Just love how you ricochet. Won't stop till you're satisfied. Cause when we're together, your love is controlling my brain. Like plunging inside of that fire I cannot contain. Our love is like a heat.